What is up, Knicks fans? Welcome back to yet another episode of Fireside Knicks with your hosts, Dylan and Davin. And today, we're going to talk about the guy that I personally think is the most consistent Knick this season, OG Anunoby. He's been great, of course, defensively, but it seems like he's taken a leap offensively. He's really creating his own shots inside the paint and also being effective outside the arc as well. So we're going to talk about that. So, Davin, first off, tell me how you're doing, and secondly, assess OG Anunoby's first 14 games, because he's been really good so far this season, I think.
Yeah, I'm doing great. You couldn't have said it even. I couldn't have said it any better. You said most consistent. He's been most consistent from last season until this season. Last season, Knicks go 20-3 with OG, and now this season, over the last 6 games, he's averaging 21 points a game. We're seeing an increased role on the offensive end. Over the season, he's averaging 17 points, but at the same time, he's a defensive maestro, a two-way star at this point. Like you said, people are trying to vow for this guy to make an All-Star team, to make another leap being taken. And I honestly, the way things are being assessed for him, this is the best we've seen OG Anunoby ever be. So he's guarding all 5 positions. He's looking phenomenal doing so. Guarding the other team's best player. I cannot say enough for how great this guy's been. And that's really simple as that, man. Last season, like I said, catch and shoot star. You really can't go wrong with OG.
Yeah, and I do want to say too, to the people that think he's going to be an all-star, as much as I love OG, I don't think that's realistic. I don't think he's making the all-star team unless he averages 25 points per game, because that's just how the NBA works, and it's unfortunately the all-star game is mostly a popularity contest. So, I think it's highly unlikely that OG becomes an all-star, but he is playing he's playing with the same impact that an all-star would give you. I can say that at least. And he also, can really be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. I don't think that's out of the question either. I think, he of course, we all know how good he is defensively at this point. I don't think I need to really gloss over his defense because, even OG said it himself. He's always had pride on himself as a two-way player, not just a defensive player. And we talk about OG's defense all the time and how effective his perimeter defense is. Even his interior defense this season has been very good as well. And that's saying for a team that overall has struggled defensively this year, especially inside. They haven't been doing that good defensively, which is alarming considering you have OG and you have Mikal Bridges on the perimeter and OG to help in the inside as well. But it's not OG's fault. OG is not the reason why the team's defense sucks. It's not. It's because, we have bad center depth defensively. We do. I mean, Towns is not a good defender, and Jericho Sims is, Jericho Sims. I mean, you guys know how I feel about him already. Even though I will acknowledge he did play well against Washington. I can acknowledge that. But still, you guys know how I feel about Jericho Sims, so I'm not even going to go there with that. But regardless, OG's not the reason for that. OG's been doing good defensively. He's been good rotating, good switching, good contests as usual, making it tough for opponents to really get good shots off. And that's what we've always been wanting out of OG, and that's what we're getting. We've been getting that on a consistent basis, so I don't really need to gloss over the defense. The offense, though, he's really taken a step forward this year. He has. I mean, last year when he joined the Knicks, the points per game average was very similar, but he was mostly limited to just, catch and shoot threes, some transition dunks and stuff, which is all stuff I want him to do. That's all stuff I want him to do. I want him to continue doing that. I don't want him to change that. But we're seeing him kind of create a little bit more this season. We're seeing him take the ball a little bit more, be more of a handler, which is something he's not exactly known to be. He's not exactly known to have crazy good handles or anything like that. If anything, he's pretty sloppy with the ball. But regardless of that, he's found a way to make it work by creating his own looks, especially inside. Getting in the post, backing down smaller defenders, driving to the paint, being more aggressive, using your strength. That's what I want to see from him. We've seen plenty of players kind of not really take advantage of the strengths that they have or the physical attributes that they have. OG knows what he's capable of, and that's what I like about him. He knows what he's capable of, and he just does it. I mean, this guy's strictly business. There's nothing flashy about his game whatsoever, but it gets the job done, and that's all I want. I don't need you to be flashy. Just get it done, and he does just that. He puts the ball in the hoop, and he stops the opponents from putting the ball in the hoop. So he does everything that I want him to do, and he's a two-way gem. I think he's been worth every penny so far. You paid the guy $212 million in the offseason. That's a huge amount of money that you're giving up right there for a guy that, quite frankly, averages 15 points per game or so for his career. It probably looked at as an overpay. And you know what? Maybe we did overpay for OG just a little bit, but you kind of have to when he brings you this kind of impact, because no other player is going to give you the impact that OG gives you on a nightly basis. There's just no other player that's going to do it. So I think, I had always been a fan of OG. I always thought he was going to be a perfect fit for the Knicks, even when he was rumored to come here as soon as 2 years ago. I mean, when the rumors first came out that OG was looking to get out of Toronto and that the Knicks were one of the favorites to land him, I was on board with it. I know a lot of fans initially were not on board with it because, this is a guy who is primarily successful off the ball and also just known to be a two-way defender type guy. But I always thought he'd be the perfect fit because this guy can score. I know he can score. I've seen him do it many times while even in Toronto. And of course, we've been seeing it lately with the Knicks. 20 plus points per game, over the last 6 games, 4 20-point outings in that same span. I mean, he's been scoring. So I knew he could do that. Of course, I wasn't so certain that he was going to do this, exactly what he's been doing this season. Maybe I wasn't so sure about that just because of the fact that you have Brunson and Towns leading the charge. But it's beneficial seeing OG do that. It gives him another option to look at, and it forces defenses to actually pay attention to him and not just double team Brunson or Towns and leave OG in the corner. No, you have to guard OG now because OG is going to score. He's going to end up being the leading scorer on a couple of nights. I mean, the past 2 nights he's been pretty close to that. So you got to pay attention to him. That's really what I got to say about him, though. I want to give you a chance to kind of jump in and give your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I'm kind of on both sides of it. Like, for example, I do understand the two-way, side of OG that he's really trying to grow in. He said when he signed with the Knicks, he wanted a larger offensive role. At the same time, I guess I'm just old-fashioned. I would prefer for OG to be more catch and shoot, more playing in transition, and he wants to master the defensive end. That's all I want to see. I want to see the best player on the opposing team be matched up with OG and have no answer. OG has everything to stop this guy from every angle. This kind of puts us at a better advantage. At the same time, I do see the other side where the versatility, if you have this guy, OG, able to extend his game a little more, give you 20 to 25 a night if he's doing that, then, I mean, you can't double team anybody. Everyone here has to be touched. Everyone here has to be guarded. And I kind of feel the same way about Josh Hart in a way because I'll see Josh Hart and I'll be out there like, well, he's getting, 15 shots. I don't know why that's happening. At the same time, if you have Josh Hart making those shots, then that's more room for Brunson to work. There's more room for Bridges to work. But right now, with the way we see in the hierarchy now, OG's third leading scorer on the team right now. And I did not anticipate that. I anticipated Mikal Bridges to really be, because we have 3 former first options, and now we have, OG Anunoby there, and I kind of expected him to kind of just feed off of him and kind of work off of him, and he just kind of focus on defense. And that's kind of what I prefer from OG. But honestly, 6 games this season with 20-plus points. He only had 3 last year. This guy is phenomenal. He's had 25 versus Indiana, 24 versus Philly, 25 versus Brooklyn, and they're just a better team when OG is playing the way he's playing right now. So I have to accept that, get out of my old school tendencies of what I want to see OG doing because he's growing phenomenally as a player right now, and I can't say anything wrong about that when a guy is guarding all 5 positions and doing so effectively while also being efficient on offense. Can't make too many complaints. I can't. There's not too much I can really say about that. But yeah, he's been phenomenal. And the way I see it going forward, I can't say that I would want him to continue this trend. At the same time, I do understand him a large offensive role. But as the season progresses, I want to see Mikal Bridges kind of, pick his points per game up a little bit. He's like 16 points, as OG's like 17 points per game. I kind of want them to switch places. OG being at 15 points per game just feels right to me. That's just my personal opinion because I know he's not going to be exerting himself too much on offense as he's going to be focused on locking down the best player on defense. Now, for example, tonight, Devin Booker's going to be against the New York Knicks, and like they're gonna have Bridges on Booker, let him go for 40 while OG gets 25 again. I wouldn't want that to happen. I would prefer if OG Anunoby's the one guarding Booker, and that way we can shut Booker down and execute however we do. In a game against, like we said, Detroit Pistons, the Washington Wizards, the Brooklyn Nets, even seems like that are the teams that OG should really be going to go get 30. Go get 30, OG. Have a night. But when we're playing great stars, star caliber players, the Currys, the Brons, the Bookers, all of Anthony Edwards across the league, these players like this, we need OG to be that guy that's locking these guys down. I don't care if he's going to get us 30 in those games because offensively, I don't care what you do in that game. I want the opposing player to have a terrible game. And I know you're the best option to do that. And that's kind of the way I see it with OG Anunoby going forward. But I do understand he did win a large offensive role when he joined the Knicks. That's kind of what his purpose. It wasn't the only reason he joined. He loved the Knicks, of course. But at the same time, that was something I talked about when he signed. So I do understand what he's doing right now, and I'm very, very proud to see what I'm seeing from OG. In his confidence growing in the playoffs, this will be very crucial. But right now, man, we need somebody to guard all the team's best players. We already said, like you said, interior defense isn't the best. He's going to be the guy doing it. We saw him guarding Joel Embiid in the playoffs even last season. Like this guy, he's more than capable. So I'm very looking forward to what he can do this season. Hopefully, he adjusts just a little bit.
Yeah, and I think really at the end of the day, he just needs to stay healthy. And I think, while I do agree partially that, if he takes lesser of an offensive role, it'll allow him to exert more on defense. Yeah, of course. I mean, I've been on board with that. I don't disagree. But also at the same time, if he's going to score in bunches like these and still be impactful defensively, go get your buckets. Go score. I'm being serious here. Like, go score because
Yeah.
at that point, he's going to actually be able to, be another weapon offensively because there's going to be nights where Jalen Brunson's having a bad night or Karl Anthony Towns is having a bad night. I mean, Jalen Brunson's already had a fair share of rough nights this season, and the other guys stepped up. I mean, the best example was, I think it was one of the Brooklyn games where Brunson was just terrible. I mean, awful. I'm just going to be blunt. 3 for 14 and 0 for 5 from 3. He couldn't buy a bucket. 10 assists, though, and OG Anunoby had like 25 points or something like that. So, when you have the other guys that are able to score as well on any given night, they have the capability to do that, it gives them insurance. It gives the stars some insurance to really kind of,
Exactly.
not necessarily take their foot off the gas, but they don't have to feel like they always have to carry or else they're going to lose. You know what I mean? Like, Brunson was awful that night offensively, but they still won the game pretty easily. I mean, they had no issues whatsoever really winning that game. And that really just goes to my point where if he's going to continue to be an impactful defender while scoring this much, then keep doing that. I don't see why OG should do that and why he should let up and take his foot off the gas. Because, I mean, we already are depleted right now. We have essentially 8 healthy players. We don't have Precious Achiuwa. We don't have Mitchell Robinson. Miles McBride has missed 4 games in a row, and he's going to miss tonight's game against Phoenix as well. So that we have a number of injuries already. We need OG to step up as a scorer, and he's been doing just that. It gives us another option. It's a reason why we're 8-6, and it's a reason why the offense has been one of the best in the NBA so far. Of course, the defense has been not great. I think we all know that by now. Defense overall has been pretty bad, but I think we also know that when the guys get healthy and we have better options to mix and match and we have better matchups, then the defense will go back to what it was last year. I think it will. I think they just need to get healthy. I mean, you can't expect Karl Anthony Towns to be a lockdown defender inside and then Jericho Sims being Jericho Sims. I mean, you can't expect that. You know what I mean? That's just unfair to place on those type of guys. And it's also unfair to expect OG to always be able to handle 7-footers. I mean, the guy is 6'8". He's a big guy for his position, but he's also not 7 feet. He's going to have mismatches. So I think it's really just at the end of the day, OG needs to stay healthy. But if he does stay healthy, which he has been so far this season, the Knicks do good things. Yes, the Knicks were struggling to start the year, but OG's taken a step forward lately, and look what's happening as a result. Ever since OG started taking more responsibility offensively, they've been winning games. I'm not saying that offense is the tell-all, because, I mean, believe me, I think defense is more important, and I think that being able to stop the opponent's best players is more important to winning games. But you can't win if you can't score. And if you're not going to defend great, then try to just outscore your opponents. Just run them off the floor as much as you can. Throw every option you have at them and have everybody involved in the scoring. And that's what's been happening. And OG's been a big part of that. And that's why they're being successful. That's really all I got to say about that, though. I want to give you an opportunity to let out your final thoughts on really OG's start to the season and what you expect more of him. Like, could he make the All-Star team or could he not? What do you think about that? I want to hear it.
No, honestly, that was very well said what you said when you said if your defense isn't so good, then just try to outscore them offensively. I think that's actually been the Knicks' game plan for a lot of the season here. We've seen them be very lackadaisical on the defensive end. But like I said, the versatility, you said it's important to be versatile. It's important to have someone else outside of Brunson and Cat to go get you buckets. So I do really appreciate what OG Anunoby's brought to the table so far to start the season. Will I say I want to continue? I mean, I can't say that. At the same time, locking down the other team's best players that's just my forte. It's kind of style of player that I like to see. I like to see that. I think that gives us an edge every single time when we have the best player being guarded by our best defender. Like, I think that's the best option going forward. And as far as all-star status, OG Anunoby, man, I mean, I would love to see it, but we talked about that as well. I don't know if we have that pool with the New York Knicks. We have a couple of guys that are going to be contending: Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns. If we got 3 all-stars at the All-Star game, we're talking different conversations here, and that means like OG's playing out of his mind. We're having a 40-point game here or there, 35 points here or there, something like that's happening. So if he has nights like that, which I expect him, like I said, the Wizards, teams that are just the Hawks, something like that. Teams that are not, just great defensively as well as poor record-wise, those are the teams you go attack. Let Jalen Brunson have the night. Let Cat have the night off. You guys, Mikal Bridges, OG, just go get buckets. That's why I like to see that. Kind of like just a balance going forward. But we have great matchups going forward. I do not want to see OG go to getting us 28, 30 points a game. I would never want to see that. So that's just preference there, honestly. But I think he's been phenomenal this season. I can't wait to see how we develop as the defense gets better.
Yeah, and something I want to say too. I feel like if we were vouching for OG to be an All-Star, it would be like how we viewed Celtics fans vouching for Derek White to be an All-Star last year. It would kind
Yeah,
of feel like the same
yeah,
thing, just because
yeah.
guy who does all the little things, does everything right on both ends of the ball, shoots the ball efficiently, puts up a good amount of points, but it's like you look at it and you go, All-Star, really? So I mean, I agree with this. That OG probably isn't gonna make the All-Star team. I wouldn't exactly vouch for that at the moment, just because he's not putting up all-star numbers. He's playing. His effectiveness is similar to an all-star. So I think really, if you look at the team and you look at how impactful he is to the team, yes, his impact is very, very similar to what an all-star would give you. Absolutely. But of course, looking at it in a vacuum and looking at it everywhere else, yeah, no, he's not putting up all-star numbers. It's just he's making an impact that you don't always see on the stat sheet, and that's what's important. It's the little things, like I've been saying. I don't need like you were saying too. I don't need OG to put up 30 points. I don't need that. Put up 15 to 20 points, play good defense, shoot the ball well, and you're golden. That's really all I can ask for, and that's how I think he'll be worth every penny. I think he's already been worth every penny of that contract so far. Of course, it's only been 14 games, and I need him to stay healthy and all that for me to really be like, yes, this contract was an absolute hit. But regardless, it was important that you had to bring him back, and even if that meant overpaying to bring him back, you do just that, and that's what the Knicks did. They paid a lot to bring him back. I don't know if any other team was going to give him that much money, but you gotta do it when he gives you that kind of impact and when he helps you win a lot more games, and that's what he does with the Knicks. So that's really all I gotta say about OG though, so I think this is a good place to wrap the episode up. We really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Let us know what you think about OG Anunoby and his starts this season in the comments section below, because we would love to hear about it. You can follow us on all of our social media platforms. We're on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, of course this YouTube page that you are watching the video on. You can follow our personal Twitter accounts. They are right there above our heads, and we will see you guys in the next episode of Fireside Knicks. Peace out.